We're going to jump right into some drone video here from March 25th. I'm going to skip this video ahead of one that I was editing here, a Sanford update. I'm just providing you guys a quicker turnaround time to see the flooding that was happening down here in Sanford. Also want to mention, if anyone wants to check out the link in the description down below, you can go ahead, buy me a coffee or buy me a tank of gas if you're looking at supporting me in the channel. So now we're flying over here towards the west. This is usually where Sanford Falls is located, where we see all these rapids. Temporary bridge is in the raised position. The roadway that actually comes over to the bridge is underwater currently. I know there's been a lot of comments on the live camera that people have been saying, well, this is poor planning on everyone's part that they allowed this to get washed out. I can guarantee you that this was planned for. They did put a lot of riprap around the bridge. The bridge is safe and secure, and the roadway that is kind of underwater right now might have a little bit of damage to it, but nothing that a couple hours of fill and some gravel put over the top of it can't counteract. So now coming over here, entering the left-hand side of the screen will be Sanford Dam. The Sanford Park area is right here in the middle top of the screen. There were a couple trees that were washed out in the park area. We'll check those out shortly. A lot of people watching the live camera were able to see that. Also, I'm going to mention that these breaks in the videos are where I stopped filming video and switched over to taking photos. You can check out these photos either on my Facebook page or my Patreon account that is also linked in the description down below. Coming down, dropping in altitude, checking out the temporary bridge. They did put some very large riprap on each side of this the last couple of days. They actually took the excavator and placed these by hand and hammered them into the clay embankment. You can see the temporary bridge in the raised position. The water never got quite that high, but you can see this is at the crest height right now. If I had to guess what this large riprap was that they were using, I think it's probably the shoreline protection, maybe the armor stone. I don't think it is D50. I think it's actually a little bit larger. And here's the other side of the temporary bridge. I took a screenshot of the water level when I was out there. So here was the crest. It was pretty much out there during the high level of 21.44 feet. You can see it was starting to go on its way back down. And then here is the predictor up at Midland. You can see that it was pretty much at the crest when I was out there filming at this time. They don't have a predictor yet set in place for the level at Sanford Dam yet. This takes a couple years of studying the water levels, the watershed, and the runoff to be able to predict what and when the crest height will be reached. So kind of just checking out the riprap on each side of this. Looks like it was holding up really good. The abutments on each side had no erosion happening, and then this is the roadway that comes over to the temporary bridge. So we'll see how what good a shape this is in when the water recedes in the next couple of days, but I doubt there is very much damage in that at all. It's kind of a good plan to allow the water to come over this direction, though. That kind of alleviates a lot of the runoff that is going underneath the temporary bridge there, which is the normal river path of the Tittabawassee River. We can see how much velocity there is going underneath the bridge, as opposed to over here on the right. That kind of alleviates a little bit of that water flow here on the Tittabawassee River. So following the river path down, facing towards the south right now, this is the Sanford Park right here in the middle of the screen, and there used to be a couple trees right here in this view. We watched a couple of these get washed away from the Sanford Park camera. That live camera was live while the water was rising. These did end up going downstream, so I ended up flying this direction and seeing where they ended up landing at and getting caught up. Is kind of a shame that a couple of these trees were washed away, but that area is right directly across where the water path is directed underneath the bridge, so it just kind of keeps eroding away at that a little bit more. Over there on the right hand side is one of those trees, so it got caught up there. And then right down here in the middle of the river path is another one of the trees that got stuck here in the middle of the river. I did come down here and check out Saginaw Road Bridge. This is the road that runs right through the middle of Sanford Village, and then the rail trail bridge right behind that. Doesn't look like there's any trees caught up around that, maybe a couple there in the background to the south of the bridge. There is one lonely tree still left out here on the island right to the left of where the Tittabawassee River is flowing through underneath the temporary bridge. So I'm going to go ahead and check out this side of the bridge. So the drone is facing to the north now. That is the Sanford Lake bed in the background. And again, riprap is in really good condition. Nothing is eroding anywhere near around the concrete that usually is the foundation and the abutments that lead up to this bridge. I'll back up a little bit further now, and now we'll come over here and check out the dam. Looks like the water level is pretty well from the job site over here yet. There's probably maybe 3 more feet before it even overflowed the roadway on this side. They did move a couple of the excavators up to higher ground and move the crane up here behind the dam, though, just in case it did get up that high. The job trailers are plenty high in elevation yet that didn't get anywhere near where the water level was. So can't even see the sill anymore. They did end up extending the sill height to try to prevent a little bit against some of these spring water events, but to protect against the amount of water that came in here, that sill height would have needed to been probably about 5 to 6 feet taller. And, it's probably just easier waiting for this water to recede and then going ahead, pumping out the water behind the sill again. You can kind of see that white line right where the tarps are. That is where they went ahead and used the breaker to open up the back sides of these spillways so that they could begin pouring the new weir spillways inside of the existing hollow spillways. That work has not begun yet, so it might be delayed by a little while, maybe a week, by the time this water recedes and they get that pump back out of there, but that's not too bad in the grand scheme of things. The live camera actually on the powerhouse did end up going out, I think it was Thursday night, while this water was really starting to rise. But again, we were able to watch all of the events happen from the Sanford Park camera to the south. I think we just ended up losing some power because it did come back on at 8:30 that night. So we were able to kind of see the events after that. Going over here, I was out there, so I might as well have flown over and checked out the live camera, making sure everything looks good. Mine is the one on the bottom of this pole. The one up at the top of the pole is the one that is monitored by the Four Lakes Task Force, but the bottom camera is the one that is live streaming to YouTube that I own. So now up here behind the dam, looking out over top of the Sanford Lake bed, and the Tittabawassee River is flowing over here to the left underneath that temporary bridge. So I was just kind of checking out the lake bed out here. Did notice a lot of wildlife in the floodplain right now, so you might be able to see them. There's a couple ducks sitting here on this log. Didn't want to bother them too much, but another drake mallard and a hen, and there were a couple geese out there as well. You might be able to see them and pick them out as I gain altitude a little bit further. A lot of these cottonwood and willow trees, though, are really getting flooded out right now. I'm sure this water will recede very soon, though, just in time for springtime for them to start gaining their green foliage. I know a lot of people wouldn't shed a tear if they ended up getting flooded out and that those trees didn't end up coming back. That would mean that the lakes were actually getting restored. But so far, great progress on the interim repairs. Just a little delay here with the water. Great news, though, that there were $200 million that was approved by our Michigan government to go towards the rebuilding of these dams. So all 4 of the dams on Secord, Smallwood, Edenville, Tobacco River, and the Sanford Dam. So all 5 dams have funding, $200 million going towards them. So that'll be a huge help. Now I'm looking up towards the north. This is the US 10 highway. I can see the bridge going over the top of the Tittabawassee River right there. Just kind of following the river path in this direction. I'm up at 400 feet in altitude and facing towards the east right now, looking back at the floodplain of the Tittabawassee River. Again, though, this is the Sanford Lake bed, though, so I don't think it's really considered a floodplain, as usually it was considered an actual lake in this area. So now we're looking downriver towards the south. You can see the Tittabawassee River flowing down that direction and the water flowing over here to the right-hand side. Drone battery was getting a little dead, so I decided to leave the camera roll while I flew back to my truck to land. You can see a little bit more of their staging area up there in the right hand side by the Sanford Park too. So water's nowhere near getting to any of that. Not really too bad though, just a little bit of water that will need to be pumped out of this area. There's no loss of any equipment. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you go down below, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and leave any questions and comments you have down below. If you've enjoyed having this quick little drone footage of me doing some voiceover, also let me know in the comments down below. And until the next one, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching, and make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Also make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next videos I will be posting, and leave your questions, comments, and suggestions below. As always, I just want to give a massive thanks to the people who support me on Patreon. Never underestimate the value of your contribution to keeping this channel going. Thank you.